So I wanted to show you guys how I have my layout set up, or how I organize and control what I'm going to do and plan out how I'm going to do it, both um, where I'm going to lay things out, where I put my control box, where I need power, how to visualize that, how to know what you need to buy, things of that nature. So what I found out is that doing this efficiently, you have to be very like type A personality and plan this out, which is perfect for me because that's the way I am. But I found the easiest way to do this is to kind of create some kind of digital graphic on your computer, move things around, to show and remember year after year, where does the wiring go, how do I add, etc. So you can see here in X Lights, I've got all my props that I currently am planning for. So what I do is I use Affinity Designer. I don't have Illustrator or Photoshop. It's kind of a cheaper option that's really robust and good. And I think it was maybe 30 or 50 bucks. So Affinity Designer with an A. So what I've done is you can select all of your models, right click, go to Export Layout as DXF. So that gives you the ability to export all of these lights and dots you see here into black circles or dots and import that into whatever software you use. So I have imported that into Affinity Designer here. As you can see, I have like a layout of my house. I did not create that just for this. We just got our garage extended over here from my shop. It had siding and other things done, so this just helped me visualize it. And I'm using it for this project, which helps a lot. So again, I've exported that, and I'll try to show what that will look like. So this is what it'll look like. You can see from X Lights, it'll go from that and import it and make it look something like this. It'll also import some text as far as what port everything is on, but I've deleted all that just because I don't need it for this visualization. So again, there's all the text that it can come with. So I've exported it out of Xlights, and then this is essentially my main document, which helps me visualize where things are, where I need to put things, how long of a run, how many T's do I need to have. So it really helps visualize and kind of break things down after you have everything off and you're trying to prepare for next season. So as you can see here, I don't think I had this 100% done yet. I still have to add the roof and figure that out as well. So essentially, you can see C1 is my controller. I have, I believe, six. It's either 6 or 7 coming off of here. I've got 2 going to my tree. This will be a flat tree that's about 7.5 feet tall. So not a mega tree, but a flat tree from Gilbert Engineering. I think it's 1,100 lights total. So I'm going to have 2 ports. I'll have one go in at number pixel 1 and one go in at pixel 501. And then I'll have some injection points in there as well from a separate supply in this box. And then you can see I've got different things kind of over here on the left side. At C2 will be my extension, and I'll explain that later in this video when I show you the hardware. I'll be having a long range receiver coming out of the main control box Falcon controller, run on the ground under the front door over to controller here. And you can see I've got 4 ports over here. And this just helps reduce running all these wires over here to the stuff on the right side of the house. That's what I was planning to do. But for about 40 bucks and an Ethernet cord, it makes it much better, a lot less wiring. So I'll have 6 or 7 ports, control everything on the left and middle of the house. And then I'll have a long range receiver on the right side coming off my main controller, which will be things on the right side like my garage door, the singing trees, the garage window way to the right. So again, this is just how I visualize. Maybe this will help you kind of get started. This is something that you could do before you actually buy anything. Set it up in Xlights, build your layout in here, export it into a program such as Affinity Designer or Illustrator or even Microsoft Paint if you don't have anything. So yellow is my data lines and red is my power. And I've explained in my other videos on how I do some power injection, but you can see how I've got the data coming into the snowflakes and how I'm teeing off. So these red circles are power tees. So there's power injection on those. So this just helps really to visualize everything. Yeah, this is kind of my biggest tip to someone who's new is kind of break down your house where things are. It's kind of helps you plan like how much wire do I need, how many T's do I need, how many male and females do I need. Um, so yeah, this is really going to help you visually. So I'm going to show you guys in this video my hardware setup. First, I'll show you my main control box, and then I'll show you my second control box over here with the extension, and then I'll also show you up here in the front, this right here by the sidewalk is a new push button speaker, which also gives me a extra power supply here in the front that is going to help me with my P-sticks. So this is my main control box I got from the Pixel store, all pre-configured, already in this enclosure with this 3D printed backing down here in black. This is a Falcon F16 V4, which means it has 16 ports. It's version 4, which does have wireless. It came with one power supply, which you see down here. So down here at the bottom, outside the enclosure, you've got your Ethernet coming in, which is going to be hooked up out here to my Raspberry Pi, which sits inside the house, which is wireless. You've got your 16 ports. They each have a fuse, all 16 fuses down here, which is then powered by the power supply at the bottom. So that's the original setup of the one I bought from the Pixel store. So for my new setup, I will have a long-range receiver come out of this box. So instead of using the 16 ports down here, I've only got 7 set up. That's all I'm going to use on the left side of my house, which is probably about, I would say about 2/3 of the lights are going to be on here. Those are still using the bottom power supply here. I'm going to have a new long-range receiver. So you see these 3 Ethernet outlets right here, ports. So these 2, I believe, are for long-range receivers to add or extend over 16 ports. What I am doing is I have one plugged in here coming out. So I'm going to use this as a long-range receiver going to the other box. So I'll have 7 ports coming out of this supplying the left side of the house. And then I'll have an extension or a long-range receiver come out to a box on the right side of the house, which gives me 4 ports over there. So instead of running like 50, 40-foot wires from the left side of the house to the right side of the house, or up the roof on the right side of the house, all I will have is this one long Ethernet cord going from the left side of the house under the front door to the right side of the house to their box. So one Ethernet cord instead of 3, 4, or 5 data and power cables. And what you can see, I also added a power supply to dedicate to power on the Mega Tree as well, just to kind of separate it. And then on the other box on the right side of the house, that's this smaller box over here, which I constructed. So again, this will be on the right side of the house. So this is a long-range receiver on top, which again is coming out of this Ethernet right here. So, and it comes in the box, which I don't have plugged in currently. So it'll come in here and then plug into this guy right here. And then you can see I have 4 ports that come out. That's all going to be on the right side of the house. So essentially in X-Lights, what I'm telling X-Lights is, hey, I'm using 1 through 7 on these strings or lights or props and lines. I'm not using 8 through 16, but I am using in my setup, I'm going to be using port 9 to say, hey, port 9, you should send port 9 data through this receiver over to here. So again, I have 1 through 7 over here, and my setup port 9 is going to be sending data over here. And then in X-Lights, you set it up to port 9A, 10A, 11A, 12A. So that's a total of, 7 plus 4, so I have 11 total ports set up in X-Lights, 7 on the left, 4 on the right, and just 1 data cable going from this controller to this mini controller. And then I have a dedicated power supply in here as well. So this will be the box on a post in the front of the yard. So what this is going to do, and with just having the option of listening to the show in your car via FM radio, I found this post on a Facebook group. I'll try to post the link where he had some pictures But great pictures, great detail. Gave the part list to everything off Amazon. So you can pretty much get everything here off Amazon except for this front cover. I use my lasers to cut and engrave this. This is a Duet acrylic from JDS. So essentially, this will be on a post. Someone walking by wants to listen to the show outside. There's a speaker in here. You press the button. It'll turn the speaker on for 5 minutes and shut off. So it doesn't annoy the neighbors all the time. It's only when someone wants to press it. And this also gives me a power point in the front of the yard. So I'll show you the insides real quick. Someone presses the button. So you've got your power supply in the back. So if someone presses the button, essentially it'll start this timer here. I have it set to 5 minutes, which I believe is 300 seconds. And then once it hits that 300 seconds, it'll shut off, and then this will glow red. And then if they keep pressing the button, it won't do anything. That's all things that you can configure in this menu here. And essentially once the timer turns on, it goes up here. The audio comes out of the 3mm jack, goes down to the bottom, and you can see it right here, and plug it in here. So what I'm doing is essentially plugging or splitting my FM transmitter 3mm jack, and at the same time having it come into here, so they're synced at the same time. And there's sync capabilities on the FPP plugin I use for this. You can actually change it in small second increments to get the sync, and it actually worked really well when I tried it. And again, this was going to be also a power supply. I'll have one power supply cord coming out to help supply some of the garden, the pea sticks in the front yard. Alright, so to show you how my show is kind of configured, so essentially when you're programming X lights, there's tons of options, but I'll just tell you what my setup is. I can't really tell you how to do any other setup. So I'm using FPP. So what I have up here is I have the very top of this shelf. I'm down here in the basement. This is always going to be here inside. My controller will be outside. But my FM transmitter and my Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, which has wireless on it, will essentially be uploading all of my X-Lights shows. So on my laptop, I have FPP set up on the Raspberry Pi and installed. So whenever I upload X-Lights and I update my show or load it, all that information is going up over here to my Raspberry Pi, and where I'm normally programming is on the exact opposite side of the house with my laptop. So I'm a good probably 50-60 feet away from the Raspberry Pi, and it has no problem uploading really quick. And again, it's an old Raspberry 3B Plus. So I upload to the Raspberry Pi, and then through this window well, I run an Ethernet cable. You probably need a Cat 5 at minimum, maybe Cat 6 is even better, but Cat 5 is probably good enough. I run an Ethernet cord out of the Raspberry Pi, through the window well, to the controller here. So the only cord in that instance going outside is just the Ethernet cable going from the Raspberry Pi to the controller. So again, FPP on the Raspberry Pi, that's where I set up my schedule, my playlist, and also that's essentially what is telling the controller when and how to run. So you also see an FM transmitter underneath. So the 3B Plus Raspberry Pi has a 3mm audio jack. I have it coming out of there, going into the FM transmitter. I'll post a link to this FM transmitter. I think it gets about, I would say about 3 blocks of transmission. And again, you can easily set your volume. There's even a microphone. I turned it all the way down. If you find that when I first did the FM transmitter, when I listened to my car, it was very staticky or didn't sound very good, there is a setting in FPP to change the volume. In addition to here on this dial, when I changed the volume on the FPP down from 100 to 60, the audio was clear. So I would advise doing that. Maybe turn it down halfway, 60%, and then control the volume here instead of on the app. So I'm transmitting the FM there. You can see a splitter here. So new to my show, which I explained earlier, is this box here. So this will be a box where you can press a button and hear it outside on the sidewalk. So essentially I'm going to be splitting off a 3mm jack that will be going to the FM transmitter, and a cord will go out and into this box so they can listen at the same time. There is capability on the FPP plugin I installed to do this, to actually sync it by like microseconds. So I think I only had to adjust it like maybe a quarter of a second, and it was like spot on. So that's the setup for the Raspberry Pi, which goes to the controller. And in the controller, you've got your Ethernet cord coming in, telling the controller what to do, when to run, and then I have my Ethernet coming out, going to my long-range receiver over here. So this is left side of the house, which is over here. I have an Ethernet cord coming out of this 30 feet across the house this way to the right side of the house. And then I have 4 ports on this side. So I've got my main box on the left side of the house, a smaller box with up to 4 ports on the right side with power, and then I have this box out front for the speaker, which has a power supply, which I also will use for my P-sticks on the ground. So again, I've got left, right, and front. So that gives me power from pretty much all angles and ports from left and right. I hope this video has been helpful just to kind of figure out where to get started if you're overwhelmed, because it can be very overwhelming. Again, I would start with a visualization such as a graphic like this, lay it out in X lights, import it into something that you can move around, add text to, add lines and stuff to kind of just visualize everything. So I hope this video has been helpful. Any questions, leave them in the comments. Please click subscribe, and I'll post more videos when I have some useful information to post. Thanks.